Nobody was ready for the explosion that just ripped through celebrity culture like a 5-alarm siren at midnight. Because what started as a casual podcast confession just turned into a full-blown warning shot from Teyana Taylor herself. Kayla Nicole thought she was telling a cute little throwback story, a little crazy Scorpio moment. A harmless Halloween anecdote about dressing up like the woman her ex left her for. She smiled, she laughed, she said it went viral. But what she didn't expect? The internet doing what the internet does best. Calculating timelines, connecting dots, and realizing that the famous singer/actress she was talking about wasn't just anybody, it was Teyana Taylor. And the man at the center of it all? Iman Shumpert. The second that name started trending, the temperature changed. Screenshots flew, old photos resurfaced, blog headlines screamed. And then came the part nobody saw coming. Teyana didn't stay quiet. She warned her. Not vaguely, not passively, or warned. Because this wasn't just about old drama. This was about a marriage, children, a public divorce that was already messy enough. And now, years later, someone casually reopening that wound with a smile. Insiders say Teyana was calm, too calm. And when a calm woman with receipts starts speaking in measured tones, that's when you know the storm is just getting started. Phones started buzzing. Private messages allegedly flew. And one source claims Teyana made it clear, say my name correctly, or don't say it at all. This isn't petty gossip. This is territory. This is pride. And if what's being whispered about the messages between Kayla and Iman is even half true, this warning might just be the beginning. The moment that podcast clip resurfaced, everything changed. Kayla Nicole sat there smiling, recounting the craziest thing she ever did in a relationship. She described being dumped over text. She described being replaced by a famous singer/actress. She described dressing up as that woman for Halloween and watching the internet explode. She laughed. The internet didn't, because within minutes, timelines were dissecting every word. Famous at the time. Public relationship. Iconic couple. Those weren't vague clues, those were breadcrumbs. And social media is ruthless when it smells breadcrumbs. It didn't take long for side-by-side photos to start circulating. The Halloween costume. The body language. The styling. The resemblance wasn't subtle. And once the math pointed toward Teyana Taylor, the tone shifted from gossip to war footing. Because this wasn't just an old ex-girlfriend story. This was a married woman being dragged back into a narrative she never volunteered for. And not just any married woman. Teyana Taylor, who spent years publicly defending her relationship with Iman Shumpert, brushing off cheating rumors, fighting through blog speculation, protecting her children's peace, and ultimately divorcing with as much grace as she could muster. So when Kayla casually told that story as if it was a quirky Halloween memory, it hit different. Insiders claim that within hours, Teyana's team was fielding calls. Bloggers were reaching out for comment, friends were texting screenshots, family members were asking questions. One alleged insider described the energy around Teyana as icy. Not loud, not emotional. Icy. Because when someone who's been through public heartbreak hears their name trending again due to old side chatter, that doesn't feel playful. That feels invasive. And then came the first sign that Teyana wasn't letting it slide. She posted. It wasn't a rant. It wasn't tears. It was calculated. She called the story distasteful. She said Kayla knew exactly what she was doing. She emphasized that the math didn't add up. She reminded everyone she is divorced now, happily. That word alone sent shockwaves. Happily. Because if you've been paying attention, that divorce wasn't quiet. There were whispers of financial disagreements, allegations about assets, conversations about custody arrangements. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. And now here comes Kayla years later, smiling about being the woman who got dumped for her. You don't have to scream for that to sting. And here's where it gets even messier. According to a blogger claiming to have insider tea, Kayla allegedly knew that the internet would connect the dots instantly. The blogger says someone close to Kayla told them she didn't say the name on purpose, that was the strategy. If that's true, this wasn't a slip. It was bait. Because Kayla has been rebuilding her public image. After the high-profile split with Travis Kelce and the onslaught from Swiftie fan armies, the internet rallied around her. She was positioned as resilient, sympathetic, a woman unfairly attacked. And now, she pivoted. But instead of talking about Travis, she brought up an even older situation, one involving a married black woman. And that's what made the backlash sharp. Because Teyana specifically called out that contradiction. She pointed out how Kayla pulled solidarity cards when she felt targeted, but then turned around and casually reopened wounds tied to another black woman's marriage. That wasn't subtle. That was pointed. As social media exploded into camps almost instantly, Team Kayla said, it's her story. She didn't say names. It's been years. Team Teyana said, she knew exactly what she was doing. You don't tell a story like that without knowing the blogs will attach the name within minutes. And then the alleged private message surfaced. A gossip account claimed that Teyana reached out directly before her public comment dropped. The message, according to the account, was short and sharp. If you want attention, we say my name with your chest. No confirmation, no screenshot. But the phrase went viral anyway, because it sounded believable. And that's when the tone of the conversation changed. This wasn't just internet shade anymore. This felt personal. Meanwhile, Iman Shumpert's name was trending again, something insiders claim he was trying desperately to avoid. After the divorce headlines, he had reportedly been keeping a low profile, focusing on business and fatherhood. Now his name was being dragged back into cheating narratives. And that's where another alleged twist comes in. A source claiming proximity to Iman's circle whispered that there were overlapping conversations back in the day. Allegedly texts that show Kayla and Iman communicating during a period when things were already complicated. No receipts posted, just the whisper. But that whisper was enough to turn speculation into something darker. Because if timelines overlap, then this isn't just about a dumped girlfriend dressing up for Halloween. This becomes about emotional overlap during a marriage. And that's when Teyana's warning makes more sense. Because her public comment wasn't hysterical. It wasn't chaotic. It was composed. Composed people don't speak unless they're confident in their position. And then came Kayla's response. She didn't apologize. She didn't clarify. She doubled down. She said she would continue to speak on her life experiences with zero shame because it's her story to tell. Zero shame. That phrase ignited another wave of backlash. Because the internet's question became simple. How much time has to pass before it's acceptable to publicly recount being in a situation with someone's husband? 10 years? 15? Does the timeline erase the context? The comment sections became battlegrounds. Influencers weighed in. Relationship experts chimed in. Celebrities posted cryptic messages about class and timing, and through it all, Teyana stayed controlled. But insiders insist she's not done. One anonymous source claims Teyana told someone close to her, "I move with grace until I don't." That sentence alone feels like a ticking clock, because if there are more details about that era, if there are receipts that complicate Kayla's narrative, if there are texts that show emotional crossover, then this warning isn't the end. It's the opening move. And the real question now isn't whether Kayla meant to stir the pot. It's whether she's ready for what happens if Teyana decides to stop moving with grace entirely. By the next morning, the situation wasn't just trending, it was mutating. Because overnight, the blogs didn't just repost the clip, they reframed it. Headlines shifted from Kayla's crazy ex story to Kayla admits to being side chick. The language got sharper, the tone got darker. And once the word side started circulating, everything escalated. Suddenly, people weren't just laughing about a Halloween costume, they were debating timelines. Old paparazzi photos of Teyana and Iman from 2013 started resurfacing. Red carpet appearances, anniversary posts, pregnancy announcements. Fans began mapping Kayla's story against those dates. Threads appeared breaking down months and overlaps like investigative documentaries. And here's where it got explosive. A TikTok creator with over 1 million followers stitched together Kayla's podcast clip with archived tweets from that era. In one old tweet, Kayla allegedly subtweeted about being lied to for months. In another, she hinted at being replaced publicly. Those tweets were from the same year Teyana and Iman were going viral as a couple. The timeline wasn't clean, it wasn't neat, and the internet smelled blood. Meanwhile, insiders claimed Teyana was watching quietly, not responding to every tag. I'm not jumping into every comment, but definitely watching. One source described her as annoyed, not hurt. That distinction matters. Hurt implies vulnerability. Annoyed implies boundaries. And boundaries were crossed. Then came the alleged voice note. A gossip page posted a clip claiming it was from someone in Kayla's circle reacting to Teyana's warning. The voice allegedly said, "She didn't expect Teyana to say anything. She thought she'd ignore it like before." If that's real, that means Kayla calculated wrong. Because historically, Teyana has stayed silent through scandals, through cheating rumors, through Amber Rose drama, through blog headlines. She let friends speak. She let time speak. This time, she spoke. And that alone changed the power dynamic. But here's the twist that set everything on fire. A blind item dropped late that afternoon, claiming that Iman Shumpert allegedly reconnected with Kayla briefly after separating from Teyana. Not during the marriage, but during the separation phase. No proof, no screenshots, just the suggestion. But that suggestion cracked the door open wider. Because if there was contact after separation, Kayla's story suddenly looks less like ancient history and more like an ongoing thread. And that makes Teyana's warning feel even sharper. Because now it's not just about the past, it's about present boundaries. Another insider claimed Teyana told someone close to her, "I'm not competing, I'm protecting." Protecting what? Her children, her peace, her brand, all of the above. The internet didn't care about nuance. It picked sides. Team Kayla began arguing that women should be able to speak about past heartbreak without being policed. They said Teyana was overreacting, that no name was mentioned, that grown adults should move on. Team Teyana countered hard. They argued that context matters, that speaking on a married woman in a way that invites speculation is intentional, that if the math doesn't add up, then the narrative isn't harmless. And then the alleged DM leak hit. A screenshot began circulating, claiming to show Kayla responding privately to someone saying, "She don't own that man." If authentic, that's gasoline. Because the conversation was never about ownership. It was about respect. The distinction is critical. Teyana never claimed ownership. She claimed distaste. But the internet doesn't process nuance well. It processes drama. So the debate turned uglier. The old interviews of Teyana defending her marriage resurfaced. Clips of her saying, "We fight for us." Those quotes were now being paired with Kayla's laughter about dressing up as her. It created a visual contrast that wasn't flattering. And then came the celebrity reactions. A well-known R&B singer tweeted, "If you gotta be petty, at least be accurate." No names. But fans connected dots instantly. A reality star posted, "Grace is a choice." So is Shade. An influencer with ties to both women went live saying, "Y'all don't know half of it." Half of what? That comment alone fueled another spiral. Because whenever someone says you don't know half of it, that implies receipts exist. And receipts are dangerous. Insiders now claim that Iman is frustrated. Not because Kayla spoke, not because Teyana responded, but because his name is back in trending cycles connected to infidelity narratives. One alleged source close to him said, he thought that chapter was buried. Buried chapters don't resurface without someone digging. And Kayla dug. But here's the most chilling detail so far. A blogger who has been right about multiple celebrity scandals before hinted that there are text messages from that era that show confusion about relationship status. Allegedly, Iman told Kayla he was done before publicly stepping out with Teyana. If true, that complicates everything. Because then the narrative shifts from side chick to misled woman, and that shift would dramatically change how this story lands. But there's a problem. The math still has to math. And Teyana publicly dated Iman years before that Halloween costume moment, which means either Kayla's timeline is incomplete, or someone wasn't being honest back then. Either way, this isn't just messy. It's layered. And Teyana's warning now feels less like ego and more like control. Because when someone threatens your narrative, you respond to protect it. And insiders are whispering that Teyana isn't done protecting. One anonymous account claims she's sitting on screenshots from that era. Conversations that clarify dates, messages that show who knew what and when. No proof yet. But the threat of proof is enough. Because once receipts drop, the internet doesn't ask for context. It picks a villain. And right now, both women are being positioned for that role. Kayla says she has zero shame. Teyana says she moves with grace. And somewhere in the middle is Iman, quiet, watching his name trend again. The tension is thicker now, because this isn't about Halloween anymore. It's about who controls the story. And if either of them decides to press upload on whatever they're allegedly holding, this won't be shade, it will be exposure. By the third day, the situation wasn't just trending, it was boiling. Because once the dust from the podcast clip settled, something unexpected happened. The children's names started being mentioned in comment sections. That's when the energy shifted from messy to dangerous. Teyana doesn't play about her kids, and insiders say that was the final line. According to a source claiming to be close to her camp, Teyana allegedly told someone, "I kept it classy, but if my family gets dragged, gloves off." Gloves off. That phrase started circulating like wildfire. And then came the live stream. Not from Teyana, not from Kayla, from a mutual acquaintance who claimed to know the real timeline. This person went live and hinted that the Halloween story wasn't even the most explosive part. They claimed there were hotel sightings, late-night calls, and an alleged argument that happened years ago when Teyana supposedly confronted Iman about someone from New York. No names, but the chat was screaming Kayla. The live ended abruptly, but it didn't need to continue. The seed was planted. Meanwhile, Kayla posted another photo, flawless glam, captioned simply, "Unbothered." That word detonated, because nothing screams bothered louder than announcing you're not. And within minutes, fans began flooding her comments with references to Teyana's warning. Some defended her, others dragged her mercilessly. The Halloween photo was reposted again and again, side by sides, memes, think pieces. Then the alleged bomb dropped. A gossip blog posted what they claimed was a blurred screenshot from Iman's old phone backup. The visible text fragment read, "She don't know yet. Let me handle it." No context, no sender confirmation, but the implication that someone was juggling narratives. The internet lost its mind. Was he talking about Kayla, about Teyana, about timing? Speculation exploded in every direction. Teyana stayed silent publicly, but insiders insist that silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. One alleged source claimed she's been advised not to release anything impulsively, that if she speaks again, it will be final, not emotional, not reactive, surgical. And that's what has people nervous. Because if Teyana drops receipts, it won't be vague. It will be chronological. It will be time-stamped. It will be undeniable. Kayla, on the other hand, reportedly told someone close to her that she refuses to be villainized for surviving heartbreak. That's powerful language. But here's the problem. Heartbreak stories are one thing. Stories that reopen someone else's marriage narrative are another. And that distinction is what split the internet in half. The celebrity reactions kept stacking. An actress tweeted, "Some stories should be therapy sessions, not podcasts." A rapper posted, "If you can dress up like her, you were studying her." That one stung. Because dressing as someone for Halloween isn't casual. It's detailed, intentional, obsessive, some argue. And that's where the mean girl narrative started snowballing. Meanwhile, Iman finally broke his silence. Not directly. He posted a black screen with white text. "Growth requires accountability. No tags, no names, but everyone read between the lines." Was he talking about Kayla for bringing it up? About himself for past mistakes? About Teyana for speaking publicly? Nobody knew. But the timing was suspicious. And then came the most explosive twist yet. An, a blogger who has a history of accurate exclusives, hinted that there is a recorded phone call from years ago, allegedly between Iman and Kayla, where he admits things were complicated while still publicly committed. If that recording exists, and if it ever surfaces, this won't just be messy, it will rewrite timelines. Because right now, everything rests on perception. Kayla says she was dumped. Teyana says the math doesn't math. The public is guessing. But recordings? Our recordings end guessing, and insiders claim both women are aware that something exists, which explains the tension. Because this isn't just about pride anymore. It's about narrative survival. If Kayla is exposed as knowingly overlapping with a marriage, her empowerment narrative fractures. If Teyana is exposed as knowing more than she publicly admitted back then, her grace narrative complicates. And if Iman's voice is heard confirming confusion, he becomes the center of blame. And that's why this is so volatile. Nobody wants the full truth. They want their version to win. Late last night, Teyana posted a simple image of herself on set. Caption: booked, busy, blessed, calm, collected, controlled. But insiders insist that behind that calm exterior, she's made it clear to her circle, don't mistake grace for permission. That line alone feels like a final warning. Kayla hasn't backed down. Teyana hasn't escalated further. Iman hasn't clarified. Which means we're sitting in a pressure chamber, and pressure chambers don't stay stable forever. Because the moment one receipt drops, one screenshot, one voice memo, one verified timeline, the internet will flip. And when it flips, someone's reputation will take the hit. This isn't just gossip anymore, it's chess. And the next move determines everything. If you thought this was just a messy throwback story, understand something right now. This is far from over. Because when two powerful women start circling each other with warnings, receipts, and years of unspoken tension behind them, the real explosion never happens in the first wave. It happens when somebody decides to stop hinting and start exposing. And trust me, somebody is holding something. One screenshot, one timestamp, one voice memo. That's all it takes to flip this entire narrative upside down. So here's what I need from you right now. Don't sit on the sidelines. Do you think Kayla knew exactly what she was doing when she told that story? Do you think Teyana overreacted? Or was that warning completely justified? And the biggest question of all, if receipts really exist, who do you think comes out clean? Drop your thoughts in the comments immediately. I want full breakdowns. I want timelines. I want theories. Pick a side and stand on it. And don't forget to hit that like button if you want updates the second they drop. Subscribe if you understand this isn't done. This is just the calm before the next detonation. Turn on your notifications because the moment someone presses upload with proof, we're breaking it down in real time. Stay locked in. Because in this game, silence is temporary, but exposure is forever.